All right, so a little bit more about type in this video. We haven't talked about alignment yet, so I want to cover that. Then I want to show you how to adjust tabs within your copy. And then we'll get to some fun stuff, like how to create a drop cap or an initial cap. And then finally, I'll show you how to create a hyperlink, meaning that when you save your file as a PDF file, it can have active links that can open up web pages. So all good, important stuff. All right, so this first page here, 3 columns, they're all identical. And I'm not going to cover stuff about readability in this video. For that, you'll need to refer to the Type 2 video, which talks a lot about readability. And obviously, any decision you make relative to type can and will affect the readability of your text. Alignment's a big one. So I'm going to leave the first column here, align left or flush left, and then I'm going to click on the middle one here, and as long as it's in the middle, let's go ahead and change the alignment of that to centered. Okay. And so I just opened up the paragraph window here from the doc, and I'm going to just click on this little symbol here, and that will align the text to center. Now, I promised I wouldn't talk much about readability. Doesn't mean I won't talk about it at all.
Oh, man.
Center align is never anything you want to do with anything more than a few lines of copy. So maybe a headline or a subhead or a caption, you could get away with it because there isn't much to read. But we really need that hard left margin. So that is not a good choice. Align right, flush right, exactly the same thing. We need that hard left margin, so that is not a good choice. Now, the other type of alignment you see a lot out in the world is justified. And so justified meaning it has a hard left and a hard right margin. And so I'm going to choose this right here. And yes, justified is used a lot. The readability is okay. But as you learned in the Type 2 video, the best readability is almost always going to be flush left because it has more even letter spacing. So as you look in here, you can see that there are more, bigger word spaces and that the spacing actually varies from line to line, which slows the reader down a little bit. But again, I'll leave all that for the other video. This right here is how you change the alignment. You won't even use most of these buttons over here to the right. So flush left, centered, flush right, and justified. That pretty much will cover you for most of your alignment needs. Okay, so let's close this and then go down to the next page. And let me show you how to change your tabs. And so we're going to basically make this piece of copy end up looking like this piece of copy. So you'll see there's the drop cap. These are the hypertext links. But first, you'll notice that my indents on these isn't quite as big as it is over here. So I want to adjust that. And so I am going to mark this with my arrow tool. I could also mark it with the type tool. I mark my type with the arrow tool whenever I can, just because I can see it better that way. And then I can go under the type menu and I can pull down to tabs. Now that will open up this cute little window. Let me zoom in a bit so you can see a little bit better.
You're cute.
And you'll see right now that this has an indent of 1/2 inch. So if you don't specify a tab, then InDesign will give you a tab every 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch is a pretty big tab unless you have a very wide column of text. So I want to make that smaller.
Whatever.
So all I do is go up here to these little arrow icons, and this is for a left tab, meaning the tabs will line up to the left side, these will line up to the center, these will line up to the right, and then this is for aligning decimal points. So if you have a column of numbers, that's perfect tab for doing that. The left tab is going to be the one you're going to use the most often, so I'm going to choose that, and then in this gray bar just above the ruler, I can click and hold, and then drag this line wherever I want it to be. So the column to the right, I did at 0.3, and so I'm going to go ahead and just modify this number so I can be exact, hit the enter key, and just like that, you can be that precise. So adjusting tabs, quite simple and easy to do. I'm going to close this window and go back to Fit in Window View. And so now, let's do some fun stuff. Let's make this drop cap. Now you will be shocked at how easy it is to do a drop cap. To start off, all you need to do is click in the paragraph that you want the initial cap to be in, or drop cap. And so that's done. I got my cursor right there. Then I go over to my paragraph window again. And then down here, these are the two areas you need to be concerned with. So this is where you set how deep you want the drop cap to be, how many lines of text down you want it to go. And this allows you to set multiple characters. So you can have, typically drop caps are only the first letter, but if you want to have it be the first 4 letters so you get the first word, you can do that as well. But we'll just stick to this one. So right now it's set to 0, so no drop cap is happening. But if I click up arrow, that'll go to 1. Nothing changed because it already is a 1. But then if I go to 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and then 6 to match what I did to the right, there is a drop cap, and how much easier could that be?
Yes, dear.
Obviously the style isn't matching, but that's as simple as changing the style of the character. Okay, so I can mark that and then go to my character window, and then I just want to change this to Bauer Bedoni. And then the color isn't quite right, so I'm going to go to my swatches window and then choose that Charlotte pink again. And just like that, we have our drop cap. So very easy to do. It's a very dramatic effect. Kind of looks like a Vogue magazine or something, doesn't it? So now for the last thing I want to show you, and that is how to create a hypertext link. So I'm going to open up this PDF that I made earlier from this same file. I'm not going to cover making PDFs in this video, so I wanted to show you how this worked though. And so you'll notice that when I roll over each of these little Charlottes, that the little pointy hand comes up indicating that if I click, it will link to a page. And son of a gun, it links to the Charlotte's web page here in Wikipedia. And so you'll notice that if I go back here, even the spider is a hyperlink. And so this is something that you're going to find very valuable. So InDesign is great for creating files for print, but quite honestly, what you will use it mostly for is creating PDFs. So anyway, it's expected these days for PDFs to have at least a certain amount of interactivity. A very basic one is this, where you have links to appropriate web pages. So let me go back here to InDesign, and let's go ahead and make a hypertext link. So I'm going to zoom in a bit, and I'm just going to do one Charlotte. I'm going to get my type tool and mark over Charlotte, and I want to make that a hypertext link. So I go to hyperlink here, and then at the very bottom of this window there is a create new hyperlink button. So I'm going to click on that, and then this is where I can put in the URL of the page I want to link to. So I'm going to go back to the web page again, and I'm just going to copy this and then paste that right here into this window. So keep shared hyperlink checked. That allows you to use it multiple times. Character style, I'm just going to keep it the same style for now. Down here is what do you want the link to look like. So if you want, you can put a rectangle around it to make it more obvious that it's a link. I tend to not do that, but I do tend to choose a highlight so that when it clicks, it does something so people know that it's going to go somewhere. And then that's it. I'm going to click OK. So at this point, you don't really see any difference because I told it to keep the same style. But I'm going to change that now myself. So I'm going to go to character, and I'm going to make this be just a little bit heavier. Take this up to, say, 500. I'm going to make this be all caps. And then I am going to change the color of this. So it's generally a good idea to make some differentiation in the text or the item that is a link so that people know that it could do something. Otherwise, they may not even notice. So I'm going to make that pink. And just like that, we are done.
Thank God.
I'll show you a little bit more in the videos to come, but you've got enough here to do quite a bit.